if we could have a moment of silence. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Dr. Durkin. I had the pleasure to know Marianne for my whole life. As you said, she was a tireless advocate for the students of Attleboro, particularly students of high-risk populations. Her work throughout the community at the Armory and Attleboro High School was significant, meaningful to her, probably second only to her family, Jack, Matt, and Kara. My memory that is resembles the one that Dr. Durkin just shared. The first Attleboro High School student I ever met was a student that Marianne had taken under her wing, and the student was spending time with her during the summer. She was heavily involved in the summer programs, director of the summer school program for a while at Attleboro High School. She passed away, obviously, much too soon. But as is the case with all people who work in public education, her legacy will live on in the students and faculty members that she touched. Thank you.
I ask that we have a moment of silence for Marion Wood. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Durkin. Thank you, Dave. Thoughts and praise go out to the family. Moving on to our community update. School-sponsored events, Mr. Keith Drucker, our student representative.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. Our school-sponsored events are as follows. District-wide, on October 3rd, there will be an early release day. On October 8th, there will be no school because that is Columbus Day. October 10th will be middle school afternoon parent-teacher conferences, and they will be held from 3 to 5 p.m. And October 11th, the middle school evening parent-teacher conferences will be held from 6 to 8 p.m. On October 18th, the Attleboro Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or ASPAC, 2012 Basic Rights Workshop will be held at 7 p.m. in the Brennan Middle School Library. On October 6th at Attleboro High School, the SAT exam will be administered here at the school, and students should arrive at 7:30 a.m. On October 11th at Attleboro High, there will be a college mini fair held from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. in the B1 cafeteria. And on October 14th, the Rome Boulevard Road Race will be held here, and that begins at 8 a.m. and people should meet at the pool entrance. At the middle schools, at Brennan on October 9th, their school council meeting will be at 3:30 p.m. And also on October 9th at Brennan, their PTO meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. in the library. At Coelho, on October 2nd, will be Picture Day. On October 4th, the grade 5th and 6th social will be held from 2:30 to 4 p.m. On October 17th, the Coelho PTO meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. Not sure if these match or...
What's,
Oh yeah, the dates. One Sutter in our packet says 10-4, and up there it says 10-17.
I have Wamsetta on October 4th is Picture Day, and then that is all I have. But regardless...
that is a PTO meeting, but I'm sticking at it.
Okay. Regardless, even though it's not on mine, it is a school-sponsored event nonetheless. On October 17th at Wamsetta, there will be a PTO meeting at 6:30, and at Wamsetta on October 22nd will be their school council meeting. At the elementary schools, at Hill Roberts, there are no events to report at this time. At Hyman Fine on October 5th will be Picture Day. At Studley on October 4th, their school council meeting will be held at 5:30 p.m. Also on October 4th, at Studley, their PTO meeting will be held at 6:30 p.m. At Studley on October 16th will be Picture Day. At Thatcher and ELC, on October 9th, their school council meeting will be held at 6:15 p.m. And also on October 9th, the PTO meeting will be held at 7 p.m. in the cafeteria. October 10th will be Picture Day at Thatcher and ELC. And October 10th, the ELC Curriculum Night Open House will be held from 5:30 to 6 and 6:15 to 6:45 p.m. October 11th will be Picture Day at Thatcher only. And October 12th, the Harvest Festival and Book Fair will be held at 6 to 8 p.m. at Thatcher and ELC. At Willett, October 11th, will be their PTO meeting at 7 p.m. in the library, and there they will be having their school council elections. And October 12th at Willett will be Picture Day. So if I may just go back to the middle schools, the events are as posted on the PowerPoint, and October 4th will be Picture Day at Wamsutta. I believe everything else matches.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. I think Ken has a question.
Oh, no, just gonna put on my PTO hat for a moment and mention that tomorrow night, Bill Roberts is hosting their roller skating night at United Skates of America. If anyone wants to join us.
Will you be skating?
I do skate every time I do. I work the door, I count the kids, and then afterwards I put on the skates. Have not fallen.
All right.
I don't dance, I just skate. Forward only.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Keith, for the update. Okay, moving on to open forum. Open forum, this is a time when members of the public may address the school committee. Open forum is not a time for committee members to engage in dialogue with members of the public. Guidelines for open forum are available to you at the podium. Please know that we are interested in what you have to say, but we cannot respond without background information on your issue. Please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. We have nobody that wishes to speak at open forum. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda, we have a vote, a motion for a vote to accept the donation in the amount of $1,000 to the Wamsutta Middle School from Walmart from the gifts donations line for the funding of the World of Difference Institute.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Moving on to new business. We're going to have a presentation of Adams Scholarship Recipient Class of 2013 by Superintendent Durkin.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. The Adams Scholarship, as many of you may know, is the opportunity for students in our senior class to, because of their score on MCAS, to receive 4 years of free tuition at any Massachusetts State University or community college or any institution that is funded by any public mass institution. And it is quite prestigious that we have 107, I wish we had 107 award winners, and that is the maximum we can receive. There is 25 to 27% of your graduating class is eligible. And I'm pleased to say that within the last 4 years, we've hit the maximum. I wish they'd raise it, but they don't. To give you a little perspective, those 107 students, in 2005, there were 79 students, and that was at 17%. So in a short period of time, our kids have become not only more competitive, but clearly much more diligent in making sure that they are in that pool to be able to receive that scholarship. Giving you a little bit of sense, who are they? Well, we have one sitting at this table. Mr. Drucker is a proud recipient. I was very pleased to see his name on the list, and well-deserved. Of the 107 students, 44 are boys, 41%, and 63 are girls, 59%. They represent all our ethnic groups, Hispanic, African American, Asian. And what is the most compelling is looking at our low-income students. 21% of them, the highest ever, were able to obtain that scholarship, which is wonderful. And that's a 17% increase since 2005. Letters signed by Mr. Rooney and myself were sent out, and families should have received those letters. If they have a question, I'm sure Mr. Rooney will be happy to take any queries about that. And we're delighted, and we want our kids to have tough choices, to be able to have many different doors they can open, and to really think about, it may not be their only choice, But we also believe that the state did get this out earlier than last year. Last year it was around November. And I think they want to be competitive and get the best of the best. So I say that to our middle schoolers and elementary students watching. 107 of you could be in that pool if you keep working hard and maintain that effort. So you have a list of those students, and many familiar names on there, particularly kids that I've known for the last several years. It's nice to see those we know. So I hope that, I'm sure the committee is thrilled with seeing us reach the maximum, and now we just have to petition the state to give us more. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Congratulations, Keith, and to all the recipients of the Adams Scholarship. My daughter was lucky enough to win one years ago from North Attleboro High School, and I can't tell you how it helped her relieve some of the burden of higher education. So again, congratulations to all those students. It's well-earned, well-deserved. Anybody else from the committee would like to?
I just offer my congratulations to Mr. Drucker. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Mr. O'Neill?
I just had a couple of quick questions. Obviously, higher ed costs a small fortune to get through. And I have who would we petition at the state level to expand this program? I mean, do we talk to our state rep? Is there someone in the State Department of Education? I mean, if we wanted to mount some kind of effort to expand this program, who do you think we should go to?
Well, our legislators would be one avenue to take. Another is to go speak, well, make a plea toward the whole state college system. One of the things that Massachusetts does is it keeps its tuition very low, but then that's the other costs that are very, very high, and that's a game that they've been playing at the state level for a long time.
This is for tuition only. I don't want to
cover
rain on
anything else.
anyone's parade. It is not for room and board,
Yeah.
Sorry,
which,
could-
as you well know, is quite expensive when you
fees.
couple those two together.
Books.
But it is tuition, which helps a tremendous amount.
Mr. Murphy?
I just would say that I think Mr. O'Neill brings up a good point, and I don't know if the current thresholds are set by the DESE or by the Board of Higher Education. I think it probably could be either, or either they could be working in conjunction with one another. But as Mr. Sawyer
I
said,
believe this is by statute.
well,
Yes.
ultimately, one way or the other, the regulation would be derived from a statute, and that would be our state legislators. So I think, in the past, the committee has voted to send a letter taking a position on an issue of importance to the community. The homeless student population was, I think, our last official correspondence to the state legislation, but I think it would be a smart move on the committee's part to send this letter advocating on behalf of the students to the state delegation.
We should do that. Should we draft a letter? and
Well, I think we make
take
a
vote on it
motion
later?
to send it for the chairman and the superintendent to send a letter.
I'll make that motion. A motion that we draft a letter to our state legislators in support of expanding this program.
Second.
Something along those lines.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. So again, yes, I'll be in contact with Dave and Dr. Durkin to find out who would be addressing this to, make sure we get our background information down first before we send these letters. But a great point, Chris, and
Start.
doesn't hurt to try, that's for
That's
sure.
right. You gotta try.
Okay, next item on the new business is the SAT update by Dave Sawyer, our Assistant Superintendent.
Well, as you may have already read in the paper, the trend nationally for the SATs has been a 5-year decrease in writing and reading and math. All three subjects have shown a decrease, and this is part of a 4-decade trend, to be honest with you. SAT results have been on the decline for some time. At the state level, the declines are not quite as pronounced, and there is a slight increase in math. But again, we're following a 5-year trend of either stagnant or slightly decreased results. And Attleboro is mirroring these national and state trends. Our 5-year results are slightly down in reading, in writing, and slightly up in writing and in reading, so that both of those are almost flatlining. And there's actually been an improvement in math for us over the 5 years. So that's the general picture. The high school is busily working on a more in-depth analysis of the data and what it actually means and what we should take from the picture that we're getting from our SAT results, and they will be bringing us a detailed report later this fall.
Questions from the committee? Thank you. Okay, next item under new business, is a transportation update by Tom Rose, our business manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. A few things to go over with you this evening. First item I want to mention is that effective today, Bloom Transportation added on a 28th and 29th bus to help ease the approximate 4,500 kids that they're transporting. And so I'm happy at the fact that Bloom Transportation took a close look during the month of September, tried to do everything it could to use just 27 buses, and made the decision we need to bring on 2 more. So that happened effective today, which is a good move because it's going to get the kids to school quicker, and I think it's going to make our transportation operation more efficient. Also effective this week, the late school runs. As you probably know, the middle schools each have 50 runs that they can request. Those are beginning this week. I have an update which I received earlier today on our wait list, the fee-for-service wait list. Now it's up to 208 students. We have 90 students who are fall within the range, and when I say within the range, I'm referring to the range for grade K to 4, and then the grades 1 to 4 rather than the range grades 5 to 12. And then we have 118 students who have requested transportation, fee for service, who fall under the range. That is, they are considered walkers. They do not live more than a mile and a half to school if they're grades 5 to 12, or they do not live more than a half mile if they're grades 1 to 4. The other item that I want to mention is that earlier today, myself, Bloom Transportation, and the Transportation School Department, we agreed on a schedule on how the fee-for-service decisions are going to be made over the next 2 weeks. It was agreed among all parties, and when we get together 2 weeks from today, I'll be able to give you an update on the decisions that were made on fee-for-service, how many of those 208 students we were able to assign a bus, and specifically the rationale that was followed in the decisions that were made, and notification will be going out to the parents. And that's the little bit of a transportation update.
Any questions? Well, thank you for continuing to work on it, Tom. No, it's not easy, but I will say that, you know, I myself have heard very little complaints to this stage, which is almost unheard of when we start off a school year with transportation. So we know something's being done correctly, and we appreciate the hard work and effort being put in by all parties.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a tribute to Terry and Sue here at our Attleboro School Department, and also to the good folks at Bloom Transportation, specifically to Mark Bloom, Arlene Menard, Lisa Coelho, and Mary Ann Nichols. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment.
Mr. Murphy?
Just a quick question, Mr.
Yes.
Rose. With the addition of the 28th and 29th bus, should families anticipate any sort of adjustment period in terms of those routes being finalized, or will the next couple of days sort of, are there kinks that need to be worked out, or are those routes pretty much good to go?
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. The answer is yes, there are kinks to be worked out, but I'm happy to say the notification to the parents saying your child might have been on bus 24, we're now going to put your child on bus 29. That notification went out last week.
Okay.
So we've got 2 positives. One positive is that by spreading out all of our students and adding in 2 more buses, it's clearly going to help with the stress. But the second item is it also gives us 2 buses. Now that we know full well are on board, will give us 2 or 3 days The plan is the list for these 208 students, that was going over to Bloom Transportation today. And Bloom Transportation will have today through Friday to take a look at the list and all the data as far as the individual name of the student, whether the student's considered a walker or not, where the student lives, the school that the student goes to, and so on. Bloom Transportation is going to have this week to decide, based on the levels of head counts or the level of number of students that actually ride each of those 29 buses for each of those 4 runs, whether it be a high school drop-off, a middle school drop-off, or one of the 2 elementary school drop-off, where are the buses that have the most availability. They'll then make those decisions, wrap up the decisions on Friday, and then we'll use next week as a way of QCing. The QCing is yeah, that's the right term. We're going to take a look within the transportation department of identifying the decisions, checking to see if everything seems to make sense, and then also getting a notification out to the parents.
Great. Thank you.
I think last question, Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Last week, this committee voted on the draft letter to the city council of the deficit in transportation.
Yes.
By adding these 2 buses, does that change that deficit number significantly, where we should be over reviewing that draft to make sure those are accurate?
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. The answer is no. The letter doesn't change at all, because and I have to thank the folks in the office, Rayanne, Roz, and Patty. When the purchase order was prepared, the purchase order was prepared for the maximum number, specifically for 29 buses. Now, the fact that we went 1 month and didn't use all 29 buses is good, but it went forward for all 29 buses, so no, we do not need to go in and change that projected deficit, because the deficit already built in the maximum amount that we would need for Bloom Transportation in regard to number of buses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question? Okay. On the next item on new business, we have a request for the school committee, action to forward, I gotta put the glasses on, I'm sorry. We have a request for school committee action to forward the IKON Lease Contract to city council for approval, and I think Tom's gonna give us an update on this, because
Sure.
it's kind of all new to the committee.
Yes.
And I believe to the administration as well.
It is, but we're making progress, and that's the most important thing. This is really an administrative item, and the administrative item is this. If the school department enters into a contract that crosses a fiscal year, then we are supposed to go to the city council and say to the city council, we enter into this contract across fiscal years. Is there any issue, any problems? Go ahead, please bless it, and let's move on. If this contract had started on July 1st of 2011, we would not be having this conversation. It did not. It being the contract, there's at least 2 huge copiers that Joan uses very, very effectively in the copy center that we lease from IKON, and now it's Rico. The lease started in March 2011, and it's a 3-year lease. And because of that, it ended up crossing the fiscal year from March of FY11 on into FY12. And so Deb Gould, the auditor, spotted that when we put through the purchase order this year and said, you crossed fiscal years, did you ever go to the city council and ask for approval? And the answer was no, I didn't. And so that's what I'm doing now. So here's our game plan. If the school committee will approve it, we're going to go ahead and just let the school committee know that yes, we are aware of the contract. Yes, we approve it. City council, we cross fiscal years, it's all legit. When this contract ends in March of 2014, we'll set up a contract that'll just go from March through June. And then we'll start a new contract that'll be effective July 1, and we won't have to go through this process because it'll be fiscal year to fiscal year. But that's a little bit of the background.
So let's just go back on what we're actually looking for from a motion from the committee.
The motion for the school committee should be to approve the lease for 2 machines through IKON, which are attached to the packet, which started back in March of 2011 and which will end in March of 2014. Yes, the school committee approves this contract, and we ask the city council to approve the contract as well. That should be the motion.
That's a long motion, so. Okay, yeah, so let's make a motion to approve the lease of 2 IKON copying machines that are from a contract that has started in March 2011 and expanding to
March 2014.
March 2014.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. I mean, I think I would just add in a bit of discussion. I know that, you know, the copy center thing, it was, I think it went back like maybe 4 years ago, where they really consolidated everything, and it has saved a lot of
Oh, it has.
valuable time and resources for the Attleboro School District. It being running, you know, efficiently as it has, so.
You're right, Mr. Chair, if I could add on, Joan Woodbury does a terrific job with managing that copy center and working hard to save us some money.
The motion is on the floor. The motion has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry, Ken?
I'm sorry, if we could backtrack, back to the buses. Mr. Rose, you said we're adding 2 large buses. Are we going above the 11 in the mini buses?
The answer is no. No, Mr. Parent, we're still staying at 11 minibuses, which is also consistent with our contract and consistent with the purchase order.
I sometimes forget about the mini buses, you know.
Oh,
so
I
have to-
understand.
Have to ask about them every time.
Oh, sure, sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on new business to the administration before we move on to committee reports? Okay, moving on to committee reports. Finance, Facility, and Procurement Subcommittee, Mr. Ken Parent.
Okay, we got one bill I want to go over, an amount of $301,741.87, dated September 26, 2012. Appropriations make up $248,692.70. Federal and state grants are $12,250.50. Revolving funds of $38,236.03, and encumbered revolving funds of $2,559.64. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, October 24th at 7 p.m. Mr. Chair, concludes our business.
Thank you, Mr. Parent. Moving on to Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee, Mr. O'Neill.
Not much to report here. Our next meeting will be held on the 16th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Moving on to Policy Subcommittee, Ms. Furtado has informed me she would not be able to attend tonight, so I will be reading the Policy Subcommittee. As you'll notice on the agenda, we have a table Policy CBD, which is Superintendent's Contract. I spoke with Ms. Furtado, and the normal procedure would be to table it for 2 weeks and for public input for such. I put it on the agenda before I actually spoke to her because of the meetings being piggybacked. So she requested that it be put on the next agenda so public could have input on it, and it will be voted on at that time. Next thing is, the next Policy Subcommittee meeting will be held on October 22nd at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman, since we're finishing up in the window of dinner time, just a quick community reminder that it's Restaurant Week in Attleboro. A lot of good options. Some of our partners in the municipal government have worked hard to spearhead that project, and there are a lot of good deals available. So if you're watching and you haven't eaten yet, and I would count myself in that group. You know, a lot of good opportunities there.
Dave's buying.
Yeah, of course. You have to guess where I am, though.
Thank you, Dave. Dave's right, we do have time. Anything else the committee would like to add? Okay. Motion to adjourn? All those in favor?
Aye. That was a record.
Yeah.
Tuition free for 4 years?
Yep, so I got a letter.
Really don't have